Okay, this video is going to show you how to complete the Tier 2 part of your TIPS form, as well as using your data analyst form for Tier 2. So on your TIPS form, if you scroll down, you'll see after Tier 1, you then have the Tier 2 parts. You have school-wide summary, the new referrals for T2, new referrals, and T2 progress monitoring. And then T2 fading exit and graduation. So those are the sections we're going to work on today. You also have your data analyst form. You have your Tier 1 data analyst form, which you're familiar with, but then you also have a Tier 2 data analyst form. So for your meeting form, you're going to duplicate like you normally do and give it whatever name you give it. I'm just going to leave it like this. And then your Tier 2 data analyst form, you're going to duplicate that and give it whatever name, like this month, January, Tier 2, data analyst. You can do your own naming convention. Okay, your data analyst form has writing down here in the bottom part of it. I'm going to eventually delete that, but just ignore it. Don't worry about that part. It's more information than what you need to worry about. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look at our SECO data for 1 month's worth of data. Now the sample data that I'm using, they only took a week for Christmas, so I'm going to go back 4 weeks, but the dates will be different than ours because I'm using fake data, and it just gives way too much data if I do it by our dates. So you'll notice this graph down here. This is called a whisker graph, and I'm going to show you how to read it, and then I'm going to change the dates for us to do our data. Okay, so this number up here at the top, these are the students participating in the data that day. So there's 42, there's 38, 39, 40, 37. This is the highest score of the 42 students. This is the lowest score. And this little tick mark in here is the mean score. So you kind of want to look at your data and see if it's kind of on an upward slant, if it's on a downward slant, or if it's kind of hanging there in the middle. And if you look from here to here, it is going upward. You still will have fluctuations, but it looks like for the most part, it's on an upward scale. So that's a good thing. All right, so we're going to put our dates in. So I'm going to do it from yesterday because all the data wouldn't be in for today. And then I'm going to go back 4 weeks from yesterday's date. So 1, 2, let's see, 3. I'm going to go back a week over Christmas. There's 4. So I'm going to go Tuesday, December 19th to January 23rd. So I'm going to record that on my Tier 2 form, 12/19 to 1/23. And I'm going to generate. Okay, so there's my data. And it says possible data days. So the number of days of data is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. It should land to be around 20. If you have a 3-day weekend in there, it would be 19, but it should be about 20 days. The range of students in SECO, we're going to look at this top number. We've got 29. Seems to be the lowest number. It is. So we're going to put 29, 2, and then what's the highest number? There's 45. So 29 to 45 students. Now for this list here, I'm just going to look for students whose data I'm concerned about. We're not doing all of them. In the training, they wanted us to do all of them, but that's a lot of students to put in there. So we're not going to do that. Okay, so here's how you do the drill downs. If you go up here to SECO reports, it's also here as well. I like using this one, but you can use either one. View reports. This is already your school-wide report. You can see their school-wide report. So let's look at average daily points by student. and I can click on it and make it larger. Actually, if I make this full screen, it'll be easier to see. Oops, let's try again. Still didn't make it quite as big as I had hoped. All right, is there a way to, oh, I can resize it. Look, see, you learn something every day. Just try. There we go. Okay. Nope, that didn't go the way I wanted. Let's go this way. I'm trying to get space between the names. Nope, still didn't work. Okay. So these are all of our students and their average daily points. And so what we want to look at is we want to look for students who have more than 10 days and are close to or over 80%. And then separately, we look at students with less than 10 days in and see where they're at. And we may have some students that we're concerned about, so we will be looking more closely at those. So let's take a look at, first of all, we need to go back to our tips form because we need to fill in that summary. So percentage of students receiving Tier 2 supports. So we're going to count these students here. I'm not going to sit here and count every student. Let's just say it's 30. So if I have 800 students in my school, I'm going to do 30 divided by 800. So that's 3.75. So I'll round it up to 4%. So I have, and I'm also, but you know what else? I'm going to also include my small group counseling. So let's say I have 3 groups going with 5 students each. That's another 15. So let's say 45. 45 divided by 800. So that's 6% of my student body. Okay, how many students are just starting? So I want to look at this graph and I want to count the students that have less than 10 days. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to bore you with all the counting. Let's just say it's 12 students. Okay, and then how many students are meeting their goal? So those are how many students that have more than 10 days that are above 80%. So we've got 1, 2. Now this one's got 9 and this one's got 9, so they don't count. This one's at 80%, but he's got 9 days. This one's got 9 days. So here's 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. So let's say it's 13. Okay. All right. So now the new referrals I'm going to list down here. So any student who's less than 10 days, I'm going to put them in as a new referral. Now the caveat to that is if you've already courted them last month, you don't need to put them in as a new referral. So, but they're only been in 9 days, so they shouldn't be in there already. And this is really hard to read because I have my screen shrunk down. So I'm just going to pick some names. Bill Artis. Okay. And I'll just pick him. But any of them that have less than 10 days, I'll put on this list. If you need to add more spaces, you just click on the row and insert row above and just start adding lines. If the formatting doesn't match, don't worry about it. I can fix it for you. Anyway, so Bill Artis. So he's a new one that I'm going to look at. And now I'm going to work on the students. Let me try opening this again. It's still small. I don't know why it's coming out so small. Okay. So now I want to look at students who are not at goal, but they've been in over 10 days, or if they've only been in a little bit of time and their percentage is really low. So this one right here, he has 3 days. It's really low. That's not too bad. 13 days, really low. This is one I'm concerned about. 17 days, really low. And this one's 16 days, really low. So this guy here, this 3-day guy, I could look at him, but we could give him just like some more time to figure it out and to show some improvement. So This one's been in 3 days and is pretty high up, so I'm not going to worry too much about them. So let me come down here to progress monitoring. So I'm going to look at some of those lower students, not the number 3 guy here. Number 13 looks like Laura Felton. Let me go over to my data analyst page. Oh. Okay, we didn't do the date range. So the date range on this starts with December 27th to January 24th. 12. Oh, no, I did it. Sorry, I was on the wrong page. Thought I did it. Okay, so Laura Felton. She's one I'm concerned about. And I'm just going to pick one more, but you'll have any of them that are more than 10 days that haven't achieved their goals yet. Let's see. Let's pick this one, Winston Weller, because I can see him. I can't see the other names. Okay, Winston Weller. So now I want to get more information because I need how many days of data they have and so on. So let me spread this out. Now this is when our next reports come in. So we did average daily points. We did school-wide and average daily points. Now we can do student count. Now if you notice, these graphs stay right here. And also most of the graphs have a data table. This one, the data table is at the bottom. And this one, the data table is on a different tab. So just be aware of that. Okay, student count. So we want the same dates. So December 19th to yesterday. And one of my students that I'm looking at is Laura F. So I'm going to type Laura in here. Now it says she's unenrolled. We'll just ignore that just for the purposes of doing this data. We'll pretend she's still in. Let me get this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to generate. Okay. So she actually was doing really well before she got enrolled. Number of days with data that she has. She's got, actually, let's look back here. It'll tell you down here, Laura Felton. I can't see her. It's too smushed. Was she 9? Oh, she was 9. She was 14. It's hard to read. Okay, let's just give her this other guy's thing. Okay, and so what is her goal? Her goal is, it tells you right here. This goal line will change when you change the student name. So her goal line is 80%. Okay, and her average daily points were where was she? There. We were using the other kid. Where'd she go? Her average daily points were like 30. Let's look down here. Yeah, we're using the kid next door, so 60%. I could just change the name, but that's not important right now. Okay, her average daily points are 60%. Now, let's look at her most successful period of the day. So we're going to go back up here to SECO reports, and we're going to go to student period. Again, we're going to change the date to December 19th and to yesterday. And we have Laura Felton. We'll show values on the graph because that's always helpful. Okay, her most successful period. Now she I picked the wrong name, so we'll just pretend she's not doing well. So her most successful period is period 5. Her least successful is period 1. So most successful period is 5. Her least successful is 1. Okay, so then we're going to do one more report, which is the single period report. And we said that her least successful period was period 1. We have to change the dates again. I know it's a nuisance, but it's how they built it. To yesterday, the student is Laura. Oops. And her least successful period is period 1. So we're going to generate. And if we look over here, we can see now she's been achieving her goals, but she wasn't before. So if she was still at this place, we might consider lowering her goal. We could see what we may want to talk to the teacher about why she's struggling. She's not a new referral, so we're going to click no. And then let's put adjust goal, because that might be something we recommend to the team. All right, let's look at another one. Hopefully I picked a student this time that's actually underperforming, because I don't know why the graph's all wacky. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the same graphs we used before, so we don't have to put in the date every time. So we're looking for Winston Weller. He's the guy on the end here. He has 16 days in, and he's got a really low percentage. So we are going to use our student count, and we're going to put in Winston Weller. Oops. Okay, try again. Okay, why is that not working? There he is. Oh, he's unenrolled too. Oh, well. In reality, they wouldn't be unenrolled because I would know that they were unenrolled, but I didn't know. Okay, so he has a lot of referrals. On this side is where the referral count is. He doesn't have 20 referrals. He's got 1 on each of these days. So he's still getting referrals, and even though he's on the upswing, he's really struggling to reach his goal. So we're going to put it. Oh, his days with data were 16 days. And his goal is 80%. Okay, his average daily points, if we go down to the data table and look, Winston Weller, 45% of his points he's achieving on average. Okay, so let's look at his period report. I don't know why it won't search. Okay, there we go. So his most successful period is period 1. His least successful is period 6. Looks like he runs out of gas by the end of the day. So he might need an extra check-in time with his mentor, something like that to keep him from tanking at the end of the day. We might not have a suggestion for him, and that's fine. You don't have to. Might want to adjust his goal too. Give him something that's more achievable to kind of help him to feel some success. So let's look at the single period. So we said his least successful period was period 6. Oops, we're still looking at Laura. It's like, wow, how's he doing so well? Winston Weller. Here we go. Generate. Okay, so that's his period 6 behavior. It's really erratic. So let's look at the period that he has the most success with. Let's look at period 1.
Okay, because that's all she had. She just used.
It's less erratic. So we might want to look at these referrals too and see what he's getting them for too. That might give us some clues too. So adjust goal period 6 erratic. Just make kind of little notes there. Okay, we're also going to snip these graphs and put them into our, and I would have done that on the other student before I changed the data to Winston. So I'm going to go back to my meeting information. Now, this will be any students in progress monitoring. For now, I'm just picking these 2 students. So we have Laura Felton and Winston Weller. I'll put in this information, and then we can talk at the meeting about how the implementation went. Was it partially implemented? Was it completely implemented? Was it stopped? What happened? How effective was it? This is all meeting stuff. Did it get worse? No change, not a goal, goal met. Next steps. So probably continue the intervention would be a good idea. Who and by when. And then down here, you might want to document that you're going to adjust the student's goal to a lower one. Or for like Winston, your documentation might say that that you're going to look into why his behavior is so erratic in that last period. This is where the data would go. I would snip these charts here for each student so that you have that to refer to, so you're not trying to dig it up during the meeting. Okay, so students who we may be considering graduating. So we'll go back to our average daily points, and we're going to look for those students who have had a lot of days and are successful. So we've got student number 3 here, Allie Pierce. So we would put her in here. And you would put in before the meeting her grade and her IEP status. You could also add any supporting data. But then in the meeting, you're going to talk about, are we going to graduate her? Now it says 4+ weeks of meeting her goal. May not want to go with 4+ weeks. That's what they recommend. But if she's been on it a long time and she's doing well, you might want to do 2 or 3 weeks. But we can also look at how she's doing. So let's do Allie. There she is. Oh, I spelled her last name wrong. Now her goal line is at 70%. She's not even to 80 yet. So it may be to continue her goal for a while, put it at 80. But look, she's hitting over 80 like every time, just about. She's doing really well. And she's not had any referrals for the last few weeks. So she's had 1, 2, 3 weeks of good data, but she's still getting referrals. So you might want to say that she needs 2 more weeks before she'll be considered for graduation, or before you start fading her even. You might not want to fade her yet, because here she had 2 referrals, and then she had 1 each day for 2 days. So anyway, those are team decisions that are made. Oops. So then I would record any students down here that we're considering for graduation, any students that we feel like they need to exit. Like Winston Weller is really struggling. Maybe he's got a mismatch, or maybe he needs breaks or better, or just group counseling. Then we would consider him for exit. One of the strategies you can use if you think that he needs group counseling in addition to SECO, you can add that into your data. So you could say next steps, continue intervention, but then down here you would say put in, study skills, small group, whatever the small group would be that applies to him. So you'd have to put his name so we know who you mean, because you're going to have several students down here. So we can say Winston like that. So in addition to SECO, he's also going to get small group counseling. That's totally okay to do. So now we have done our summary. We have our students that are new referrals, our students that were progress monitoring, and our fading exit and graduation students. And that is how you do that. And this is what you record. Oops, wrong tab. This is how you record on the data analyst form.